and welcome to today's episode of Need I Say Myrrh, the Christmas podcast. And today I am delighted to be joined by Tim Diaper. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Hello, Adam. I'm really good. Pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you. And you are wearing a good Christmas jumper for this recording.
I tried it. It's the first Christmas jumper I was ever bought by my dear wife, and yeah, it's one that says "Bah Humbug," which is rather sums up her feelings towards my thoughts to Christmas. It's not true. I do love Christmas, but that's the one she bought me.
Okay, well, that's going to be intriguing as we go through the questions about why you might give the impression of having a bar humbug attitude. But we'll get to that in a bit because I haven't asked you to introduce yourself yet. We've talked about your jumper, but we don't. No one has any clue who you are. Who are you, Tim? And where are you? And what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm the lead pastor of a church in Flitwick, which is in Bedfordshire. And we're an independent church, an FIEC church, and I think by UK standards, UK statistics, we're a fairly large church, but we don't feel it.
Mhm.
But we're seeking to reach our town surrounding villages with the good news of Jesus. And among other things, I also have the privilege of being the chair of trustees for Daylight Christian Prison Trust, which is a charity I've been involved with for a long time. I was involved in prison ministry before I went into church leadership as well. So
Mhm.
it's a great privilege to still be involved there.
Yeah. No, it'd be good to, before we get to the questions, to chat a bit about that because as a church, we have an interest in prison ministry as well. And we're involved in the local prison here. And at the time of recording, we were doing services yesterday. Yeah. What does Daylight's ministry look like over Christmas?
Yeah, I think it's very very special over Christmas. Prisons are often dark places, and Daylight is all
Mhm.
about taking the light of the gospel into
Mhm.
the dark places that we find behind bars. And I think Christmas in particular is one of those periods. Prison is never a pleasant place to be locked up, and particularly at Christmas time, prisoners are finding they're just very acutely aware of the sense of separation that they're feeling from their family, particularly prisoners with young children, and
Mhm.
and they spend many hours a day locked up, and particularly at Christmas time, as they think through in their minds what their family, what their children are doing, and that sense of separation just becomes much more acute at Christmas.
Mhm.
And so Daylight, among other organizations, many other Christian ministries, just seek to alleviate some of that sense of aloneness, bring some of the light of the gospel into prisons. And so
Mhm.
I would just say pray for prison chaplains, pray for Daylight volunteers, pray for other Christians who are doing that ministry over this Christmas season. It's remarkable at the moment. We just have a real sense that prison ministry we're operating in a very fertile harvest field at the moment. Some of the stories that we're hearing, some of the things that we're seeing nationally, it's a very fertile harvest field, and so our
Mhm.
prayer is that this Christmas might be especially so.
Yeah, no, that's encouraging to hear that you've yeah, had those encouragements from across the UK, and
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be good. I'd encourage our listeners to join in with praying for ministry in prisons this Christmas, and as we join together, we look forward to seeing how the Lord might work in bringing that light into those dark places. So let's move on to the questions that we'd planned to ask that I'm asking all of the guests because you're the only guest that I'm asking about prison ministry, but I am asking all the guests these questions. Starting with Tim, what is your favourite Christmas decoration?
my favorite Christmas decoration. We have on our Christmas tree. We have a lot of individual baubles. We don't go for the
Mhm.
uniform effect where they're all the same.
Mhm.
We kind of buy one or two nice ones each year. We've got a particularly nice one which has a lovely nativity scene painted on it. We bought it from a Christmas market a few years ago,
Mhm.
and it's one that it looks nice. It's blue and gold, so it's very ornate and things like that. But it's got this lovely nativity scene on, and we always try and position it kind of center stage. And try and put the lights around it so that it takes center stage because that nativity scene, the heart of what it's all about, is very special for us.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good to have those decorations that can remind us of of that heart of Christmas, whether nativity scenes or even just like the lights and the stars are kind of pointed back to that as well. And we take a similar approach to you, I think, in terms of Christmas trees, that we don't go for some kind of cohesive decoration scheme. Like it's just a random collection of baubles and other hanging stuff.
Yeah, that's it. There's something about the uniqueness of each one. They have to be a certain color. We don't go for the multicolored effect, but
Okay, so you do have a color scheme. That's interesting.
there's definitely a color scheme. It's sort of, yeah, it's kind of blue and silver and gold. But every decoration is unique in its own way.
And outside of the tree, do you do other big decorations?
Well, we do decorating in a very big way. My wife and children kind of go to town on it. I do as well, but it's largely driven by them. There is not a shelf or yeah there's not a shelf or wall or anything or picture hook where there is not something. So we decorate in a pretty big way inside the house and outside as well, with lit up trees and snowmen and reindeer and all the rest of it.
Well, yes, that sounds like quite a lot.
It is a lot.
Is that a hint of your Bah Humbug? Uh,
And maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit.
anyway, but maybe we could move on then to
Yeah.
food. And particularly this year, for this season, asking about your least favorite festive food.
Least favorite festive food. Well, I mean, I could just plump for the Brussels sprout, but I think my least favorite food goes a bit beyond that. I have very particular views about what can and cannot be included on a Christmas dinner plate. If there is any vegetable that is not red cabbage, roasted parsnips and carrots, or Brussels sprouts, anything other than that is not acceptable. So I think my least favorite festive food is seeing things like broccoli or peas on a Christmas dinner plate. That may be controversial, but I've said it, it's out there.
Yeah, I think that will be controversial, and we do welcome correspondence on this podcast. Listeners can get in touch with their views. Need I Say Myrrh at gmail.com. That's need I say myrrh at gmail.com, and we'll share that feedback on a future episode. Because that is quite controversial. We have ventured outside of your permitted boundaries in our Christmas dinners in the past, Tim.
Dear oh dear.
Which do you think is the most, of all of the vegetables that you hate to see on a Christmas dinner, which would be the one that would most make you feel disgusted?
I do know somebody that has cauliflower cheese on their Christmas dinner plate, and I think that is just, yeah, that I think I'd have to get up and walk out, really.
Okay, I think we've had cauliflower cheese before, and no, well, it's nice talking to you, Tim. But yeah, so okay, so in terms of like your views on things that can and can't go on a Christmas dinner plate, so what are the other essentials in your mind?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. It's turkey, stuffing, pigs in blankets, roast potatoes. They have to be roasted in duck fat, of course. But and then it's we have a family favorite of this braised red cabbage that is that's very tasty.
And for after the main course for dessert?
For after the main course, well, you see, I always go for Christmas pudding, but I'm the only one in my immediate family that likes it. So my wife and the kids make this kind of chocolate truffle torte, which is very nice, but it's just not really the right thing to follow Christmas dinner.
No, so it'd be like having cauliflower cheese for dessert. You just wouldn't.
It would be, yeah,
We'll come to Christmas Eve now. So we think a lot about Christmas Day, but this season we want to think about Christmas Eve as well. What does
yeah.
Christmas Eve look like for you? What are your Christmas Eve traditions?
Well, no, the only Christmas Eve tradition really that I've had for a long while is the fact that I mid afternoon I lock myself in the kitchen, banish everybody else, and that's my time. I put some Christmas carols on the radio, pour myself a glass of mulled wine, and prepare all the vegetables for the next day. That's my that's my little oasis on Christmas Eve. But over the last few years, sort of since COVID, really, we've been doing a carol service in the town square on Christmas Eve in the evening. So that's become quite a bit of a tradition now, which is lovely. So around the Christmas tree in the town square, we're really very fortunate in our church with the number of musicians we've got, and so we're remarkably able to put together a brass ensemble who play at many of our Christmas services, and
Um,
they all go out gloves on and play for us in the town square on Christmas Eve. So we have sort of half a dozen carols, a couple of readings, a very short message. So I'll kind of speak for 2 or 3 minutes at one point in that, and then people come back to the church building for hot drinks and mince pies. So it's really lovely that the town council invited us to do that. They're keen for us to be
mm,
involved. So that's really nice. But that has rapidly become a tradition on
mm.
Christmas Eve, which is really quite nice. It's a special way to spend an hour in the evening.
Yeah, definitely. And it's great to have those things in the Christmas period, those more kind of public things that we can do as churches. Yeah, that sounds like a really good opportunity. So hope you have a good Christmas Eve.
Thank you. I think by the end of it, I will just about be on my knees. I think with the amount of Christmas services we've got.
Do you have a Christmas Day service as well?
We do, yes, we do. So the Christmas Eve won't quite be the last one, but it will. Yeah, we do have a Christmas Day service.
Do you play any brass instruments?
I don't. No, the
No.
only instrument I play is the piano. So which I may well do on Christmas morning. Who knows? But I'm not. I don't play one of the brass instruments. But
Okay.
I think that sense of kind of feeling on my knees by the end of that is one of the reasons my wife goes for the sort of the Bah Humbug jumper, because she says you kind of you get to the point where you're moaning about the number of Christmas services, despite the fact I'm the one that kind of arranges them all and puts them in the diary. So
We always have a different approach to Christmas, don't we, as ministers who are planning lots of services and speaking at them. And by the time we get to Christmas Day, we've done a
yeah,
whole load of Christmasing already. So
yeah, and I always find it quite strange because I plan things quite a long way in advance. So I plan out preaching series, months in advance and things like that. So and because we've got all the brass ensemble that has to be put together and things like that, music got out to them. I end up planning our carol services and our Christmas program kind of in July while I'm sort of sitting in the garden barbecuing some sausages, and I'm choosing Christmas carols for different services and things like that, so that everybody has plenty of warning. So I think that's my excuse why I don't like Christmas starting too early, because
yes.
I've done it all in July. So
But we should get to the final question. You've mentioned carols. So you choose lots of carols for different services and different events. What is your favourite Christmas carol?
I think, if I'm honest, I think it's got to be "Hark the Herald Angels Sing." It's the one we traditionally close our candlelight carol service with, that one,
Mhm.
and I think it's just brilliant. I just love how the words have sort of really stood the test of time.
Mhm.
It has to be one of my favourites. I think there's some nice, I think there's some nice modern songs out there as well. I love some of the Sovereign Grace Christmas music. I think one of my favourite Christmas songs. It's not a carol as such, but it's one that Graham Kendrick wrote a number of years ago. We don't sing it very often anymore, but "Oh, what a mystery I see! What marvelous design!" I love the tune to that. I love playing that on the piano, but I love
Mhm.
the theology. It's so rich in its theology, taking us through so much of what Jesus has done for us. And it's got that there's this beautiful line that says, "As over the shattered power of sin, the cross of Jesus towers." There's something lovely about singing that at Christmas time, when you get spend so much time, don't we, thinking about this little Lord Jesus and the manger and those scenes, and yet to remind ourselves that actually it's all pointing towards a cross. And so that particular Graham Kendrick song is one that I've loved singing in the past as well.
Yeah, those are two good choices. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for joining us for this podcast, and we hope that you have a very happy Christmas.
And the same to you, Adam.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.